At about a league and a half from the city, D'Artagnan, finding that in his impatience he had set out too soon, stopped to give the horses breathing time. The inn was full of disreputable-looking people, who seemed as if they were on the point of commencing some nightly expedition. A man, wrapped in a cloak, appeared at the door, but seeing a stranger he beckoned to his companions, and two men who were drinking in the inn went out to speak to him. D'Artagnan, on his side, went up to the landlady, praised her wine, which was a horrible production from the country of Montreal, and heard from her that there were only two houses of importance in the village. One of these belonged to the Archbishop of Paris, and was at that time the abode of his niece the Duchess of Longueville. The other was a convent of Jesuits, and was the property, a by no means unusual circumstance, of these worthy fathers. At 4 o'clock D'Artagnan recommenced his journey. He proceeded slowly and in deep reverie. Planchet also was lost in thought, but the subject of their reflections was not the same. One word which their landlady had pronounced had given a particular turn to D'Artagnan's deliberations. This was the name of Madame de Longueville. That name was indeed one to inspire imagination and produce thought. Madame de Longueville was one of the highest ladies in the realm. She had formerly been suspected of an intimacy of too tender a nature with Coligny, who, for her sake, had been killed in a duel, in the Place Royale, by the Duc de Guise. She was now connected by bonds of a political nature with the Prince de Marsillac, the eldest son of the old Duc de Rochefoucauld, whom she was trying to inspire with an enmity toward the Duc de Conde, her brother-in-law, whom she now hated mortally. D'Artagnan thought of all these matters. He remembered how at the Louvre he had often seen, as she passed by him in the full radiance of her dazzling charms, the beautiful Madame de Longueville. He thought of Aramis, who, without possessing any greater advantages than himself, had formerly been the lover of Madame de Chevreuse, who had been to a former court what Madame de Longueville was in that day, and he wondered how it was that there should be in the world people who succeed in every wish, some in ambition, others in love, whilst others, either from chance, or from ill luck, or from some natural defect or impediment, remain halfway upon the road toward fulfilment of their hopes and expectations. He was confessing to himself that he belonged to the latter unhappy class, when Planchet approached and said, "I will lay a wager, your honour, that you and I are thinking of the same thing." "I doubt it." "Planchet," replied D'Artagnan, "but what are you thinking of?" "I am thinking, sir, of those desperate-looking men who were drinking in the inn where we rested, always cautious." "Planchet." "His instinct." "Your honour." "Well, what does your instinct tell you now?" "Sir, my instinct told me that those people were assembled there for some bad purpose, and I was reflecting on what my instinct had told me, in the darkest corner of the stable, when a man wrapped in a cloak and followed by two other men came in." "Ah," said D'Artagnan, Planchet's recital agreeing with his own observations. "Well, one of these two men said, 'He must certainly be at Noisy, or be coming there this evening, for I have seen his servant.'" "Art thou sure?" said the man in the cloak. "Yes, my prince," interrupted D'Artagnan. "Yes, my prince, but listen. If he is here, this is what the other man said. Let's see decidedly what to do with him." "What to do with him?" answered the prince. "Yes, he's not a man to allow himself to be taken anyhow. He'll defend himself." "Well, we must try to take him alive. Have you cords to bind him with and a gag to stop his mouth?" "We have." "Remember that he will most likely be disguised as a horseman." "Yes, yes, my lord, don't be uneasy. Besides, I shall be there. You will assure us that justice—" "Yes, yes, I answer for all that," the prince said. "Well, then, we'll do our best." Having said that, They went out of the stable. "Well, what matters all that to us?" said D'Artagnan. "This is one of those attempts that happen every day. Are you sure that we are not its objects?" "We, why? Just remember what they said. 'I have seen his servant,' said one, 'and that applies very well to me.' Well, he must certainly be at Noisy, or be coming there this evening. Said the other, and that applies very well to you. What else? Then the prince said, 'Take notice that in all probability he will be disguised as a cavalier, which seems to me to leave no room for doubt, since you are dressed as a cavalier and not as an officer of musketeers. Now then, what do you say to that?' 'Alas, my dear Planchet,' said D'Artagnan, sighing, 'we are unfortunately no longer in those times in which princes would care to assassinate me. Those were good old days. Never fear, these people owe us no grudge.